Hey guys, and welcome to another video here at zazzaracingteam. Before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you to all those of you that have been super patient with this channel and the lack of content, and I'll get into the reasons behind all this in a future video. But for now, we're back, we're creating and we're racing. So if you like the content, gently tap on that like button to help me with the YouTube algorithm, and hit that subscribe button if you want to get notified of when my latest videos are uploaded. So, I have been working hard at learning how to play Assetto Corsa Competizione on the Playstation 5, and recently I've joined an online league with Apex Online Racing, and this has transformed the enjoyment value that I am getting out of the simulation. For those of you that watched last week's stream, you would have seen that we had success at Paul Ricard, winning the opening race of the season, and we currently lead the Apex Online Racing PS5 Tier 2 Championship in Drivers and the Constructors Championship. Today's race was 50% mixed conditions, so we didn't know if it was going to rain or stay dry. Last night's practice race was a washout, and to be honest, I was much better in the wet than the dry, so I was praying for a wet race. But unfortunately, we jumped into qualifying, and as you can see, conditions didn't go my way. With minimum time left on the clock, I'm currently struggling to get a good lap in and cross the line to move from 11th to 6th with one lap to go. With the confidence of 6th in the bag and a clear track in front of me, I felt like I could take more risks on my last flying lap. So I'll leave you to enjoy this without commentary, as the rest of our time here at the Nurburgring was a disaster.
Yellow flag, be careful.
After that lap, we move up to 4th with a 1:57.240, and a high 56 was definitely possible. Looking at a perfect lap, I would have probably been alongside high grade, and 3rd was a definite possibility, but after struggling down in 11th, a 4th was a good result. Some of you may have taken note that I mentioned earlier in this video that we are currently leading the Constructors Championship. And if you look down at the timings, you will notice in my favourite number 13, M. Zazzarino. He jokingly said to me, people might think you're driving two cars, one with your left hand and one with your right. But actually, this is my brother, who is also learning the ropes. And 2 months in, I feel he's picking up the simulation at a rapid pace. Unfortunately, disaster strikes twice in this one. So let's get out on the warm-up lap and see where this all starts. An introduction to the race. This is a 1-hour race with one compulsory pit stop to change tyres, with no refuelling allowed. As I said, we start with a warm-up lap of tyres and brakes before we go into a rolling start. But on this one, we have the soul taken out of the car as we head straight across the gravel trap and park it by the tyre barrier. disconnect of the wheel. I'm frantically trying to reconnect the wheel, but unfortunately it had set itself to PC mode, so I couldn't get it to connect, and we have to start the race from the pit lane. As you can imagine, you spend the week practicing, putting time and effort into getting a good result and treating the race as close to real life as possible, only to have outside forces say, "Not this time." And it's in this moment right here, whilst you're sitting in the pit lane, you have to keep your calm and keep your composure as you wait for the rest of the field to come round and start the race. We exit the pits with cold tyres and up the TC to 7, so we don't fall victim to a spin. We know we can do 158s, so I just have to try and be patient as we try to get past the back of the pack cleanly and try to avoid any incidents. Disaster number 2 strikes up ahead. As we come out of Ford Curve and head down towards Dunlop, you'll notice a car striking the barrier on the left hand side, M. Zazzarino. My brother later told me he forgot to start the recording of the race, and as a rule of the league you must record your race in case the stewards want to review any incident footage. So he pressed the share button, not realising that this disconnects all your controls to the car, which left him spinning uncontrollably towards the Armco barrier. ZAZZA Racing Team now head up the field in 20th and 19th.
Well done, mate.
So I find myself at the back of the field in a battle with Drew the Great, and I have to say he did some really good defending against me, and it doesn't matter if you're a couple of seconds quicker, you need to make these moves stick. And Drew the Great was displaying some great defending here against me, so I was unable to make the move stick here. Further into the lap, I tried to send one up the inside here, but again Drew the Great's got the inside for the following right-hander. The last corner before the straight, I noticed High Grade was behind me, and Drew the Great had put his indicator on to go left. So I moved across to the inside line to cover off High Grade, and I thought that Drew the Great was giving me turn 1. So as I sent it into turn 1, I would have made the apex here, but I then crashed into the side of Drew the Great. So I have to apologise if I misinterpreted that indicator that you've put on, but High Grade's now in front of me, and I know that I'm at a similar pace to High Grade. I feel like it wasn't the end of my race, and I was just going to stick behind High Grade and just try and follow him through, because I knew we could probably get up the field quite high, and it looks like High Grade did actually get up the field, and we'll look at where he finished at the end of the race. But for now, it was just a case of me sticking behind High Grade and trying to make my way through. Later on the same lap, as we come through the Schumacher S's and come up to the RTL curve to the left, Drew the Great unfortunately outbrakes himself and allows High Grade and myself to come through. So we're now 17th and 18th, hunting down Lintel 88 and Edit Olcombe. So we're now in a bit of clean air, and we are approaching the chicane, and unfortunately High Grade hits the bumps and loses a bit of pace, which allows me to come through. And it's at this point here I'm thinking, do I use a bit of racecraft and a bit of intelligence? We can get into a battle and we will end up losing a hell of a lot of time. So into turn 1, I just stayed a bit narrow to come into this corner, and I wanted to see what sort of time I was up, and as you can see, we're 1.5 seconds up on our previous lap. And I saw this and thought, do you know what? There's no point in us battling for 17th and 18th. We just need to work together to get through these back markers, because I know we can do it, and there's some good points on offer if we can carve our way through the field quite nicely working together. So I let high grade back in front of me, and there's still another 50 minutes of this race to go. There's time to battle towards the end. At the end of the first lap in clean air, we're 1.2 seconds quicker than our previous lap. High grade already passed Lindell 88, so I needed to pounce on any opportunity to get past and up to the back of high grade. Lindell 88 went wide in the previous corner, allowing me to go past in the Schumacher S's and try and close down on high grade and Edith Olcombe. As we come through the Schumacher S's, Edith Holcomb gets onto the gravel and slows himself down slightly, and I manage to get one up the inside. And it takes a lot of trust in a driver to go around the outside as close as I did there with Edith Holcomb. So congratulations, mate, good defending. I really appreciate the space that you gave me through there, and now we're trying to get back up onto the back of High Grade and Salty Joe. So High Grade outbreaks himself into turn 1, and here is where disaster number 2 happens for us. Coming through turn 2, this would have been our first lap in clean air, and disaster. Second disconnect of the race. Loads of damage to my car, and yeah, I was sitting in 15th there, and obviously getting overtaken. And yeah, I'm resetting the wheel and basically reset to pits. And guys, if I can give you a little bit of advice, do not reset to the pits. As you can see here, I've got to wait in the pits for 2 minutes and 17 seconds before I can start the race again. And I went into my setup, and because I went into my setup, if you look closely to my fuel, I've gone and restarted the whole race again with 100 litres of fuel. So don't reset to the pits, drive to the pits and get whatever damage you need fixed. It's probably better than sitting here waiting whilst your tyres are going cold. So we come out of the pits here, cold tyres, the wheel spin, hit the barrier, blue flags coming from behind, try and keep in the pit lane white mark as much as possible, and as you can see there, very close with P1 Pilgrim. As we come into turn 1, I'm in two minds. I don't know what to do, whether to come in to take my tyre change or whether to just continue on these fresh tyres. And my decision was made when I came through the Schumacher S's, and I did this. Cold tyres on the curb there and spun round. And as I'm trying to rejoin the track, I get on the track, let this guy go through, who was that Mad T, and then I realise I've got a whole bunch of cars that are closing down on me. So I try and stay offline as much as possible and allow all these cars to come through without impeding on anyone's race. I think Salty Joe, yeah, I might have got in your way there. I couldn't have done anything more. So I came into the pits and to get my one tyre change pit stop out of the way, and unfortunately the MFD, which normally comes up at this point, didn't come up. So I wonder if you notice what happens next. All my pit stops are predetermined. Have a look at the tyres that this guy is going to come round with. You might be able to see them. Might have to wait for a second. There you go, there the tyres. Look at the tread on those tyres. What does that tell you? Yep, they're putting on wet tyres. So as I said, all my pit stops are predetermined before the race. I have a number of pit stops, which you should always do. And yeah, sorry, we come out of the pits on wet tyres. And yeah, some more blue flags, plenty of those in the next 25 minutes or half an hour. And as I come around turn 1, I think it's into turn 2 or 3, I'm already finding the car a little bit difficult to drive, but I thought it was just because of the cold tyres. But I think it's into this next left-hander. I realised that I've got wet tyres on, and I went to pull over to reset to pits and realised what happened last time. Your controller's going to get locked for 2 minutes, so I just had to grin and bear it. Guys, if you can take anything away from my mistakes, learn from my mistakes, I hope you do so, and that is check your pit strategies, make sure the auto MFD comes up into the pits, because when you're going in there, especially when you're frustrated as much as I was, you're not looking at these smaller details as much as what maybe when a race is going well, you pay attention to all those small details. When you're frustrated, yeah, all that goes out the window, and you need the prompts to help you out. Yeah, I thought I'd let you see this lap because these tyres get pretty hot, and yeah, it was pretty difficult to control the car on these tyres. And I looked down to see number 1 E-Captain Kirk 6-7 seconds behind me, and I was just thinking, get back to the pits and don't impede anyone else's race. Not that I impeded anyone's race to begin with, but I just didn't want to be the cause of someone else's issue. So we eventually get back into the pits, slow down for the pit limiter, and yeah, I completely overshot the marker. But as you can see there, I had to manually bring up the pit strategy. You can see there I'm just flicking between the two just to check, because I didn't want to make the same mistake again. But as we approach the pit box, I can't even slow this thing down. Yeah, it's all the way back. At least on the reverse I get it right. Straight up onto the jacks. And yeah, hopefully you guys might be able to learn something from my mistakes. But you can see there the nice slick tyres coming onto the car. And that's pretty much my race. 3 laps down, we come out of the pits, and the next 25 minutes is me. I'm not able to get into the one. I should have been able to get into the 157s and possibly 156s. I don't know, but with a full tank of fuel, I was just running around in the 158s. And here at the end of the race, I was just trying to tuck in behind Lindell 88 as much as possible. I was just trying to salvage something from the race, and that was to increase my safety rating a little bit. So guys, don't quit out the races, because you never know what you're going to get. And I'm going to show you in a second where everyone come, because this is the last few corners now before we get onto the pit straight, and we'll pull up the menu at the end, and you can see where people were in respects to where I was and where they finished. So we come across the line. Let's congratulate whoever finished first. I can't remember. We're going to come into the final menu here. So pull over, return to garage, and Flaps finished first I Drasnop and E-Captain Kirk. But you'll see high grade there, finished in 5th. And yeah, that was my disaster race. So guys, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next race at Brands Hatch next Tuesday. Looking forward to it. Thanks for racing. Yeah, see you in the next one.